Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. mypillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in on this Monday as we kick off another week. Lots of news over the weekend. President Trump made headlines with a fiery, no-holds-barred interview on 60 Minutes, his first since CBS News. He sued the parent company, Paramount, earlier this year. And as you may recall, they settled, did not admit guilt, but they did settle with him, so you have to suspect that they knew they were going to lose. We have some of the highlights for you in today's show. As the battle for election integrity is heating up, a federal judge has blocked the Trump administration's citizenship-proof order for voter registration. Now, why would any American who loves his or her country would not want someone registering to vote to have proof of citizenship? Help me out here. We're going to dive into this. If you spend any time on social media over the weekend, especially on X, TikTok, or maybe Facebook Reels, you've probably seen some of those viral videos supposedly showing food stamp recipients melting down over the government shutdown. They're pretty convincing, but beware. Most of them are AI at work. We have some of the highlights of that, too. Yet another death row inmate in South Carolina has chosen death by the firing squad as his execution date is approaching, unless Governor McMaster steps in to stay the execution.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
President Donald Trump made some serious headlines over the weekend with his interview on 60 Minutes. Did you catch any of it? Well, as usual, I watched it, so you don't have to. Of course, this is his first sit-down with 60 Minutes in 5 years, and since he sued the parent company earlier this year.
It's been 5 years since President Trump appeared for an interview on 60 Minutes. A lot has happened since then, not least of which was his political comeback and triumphant return to the White House. On Friday, hours after he touched down from his whirlwind trip to Asia, Mr. Trump agreed to sit down with us for a wide-ranging conversation. It was exactly 1 year to the day since he sued Paramount, the parent company of CBS, alleging that 60 Minutes had deceptively edited an interview with his opponent, Kamala Harris. Paramount settled that lawsuit. The settlement did not include an apology or admission of wrongdoing. In our nearly 90-minute conversation this past week, we spoke with Mr. Trump about the country and the world.
The story will continue in a moment.
Let's just say that was probably the calmest part of the entire interview because it didn't take long for things to heat up. The president sat down with anchor Norah O'Donnell at Mar-a-Lago. The president sparred over everything from the government shutdown to nuclear weapons testing to immigration enforcement, and even weighed in on the New York City mayoral race. It was classic Trump. He was defiant. He was unapologetically blunt. He was sharp. The tension started almost immediately when Ms. O'Donnell opened with a jab, reminding the president that we are in one of the longest government shutdowns in history, and seemed to suggest that he could end it if he wanted to.
We are now approaching the longest shutdown in American history.
Democrats' fault.
Under your presidency, we're talking about more than 1 million federal workers who are not getting a paycheck, including our air traffic controllers. You see there's traffic snarls out at the airports now. Sure. This weekend, food aid for more than 42 million Americans is set to expire. What are you doing as president to end the shutdown?
All we're doing is we keep voting. I mean, the Republicans are voting almost unanimously to end it, and the Democrats keep voting against ending it. You know, they've never had this. This has happened like 18 times before. The Democrats always voted for an extension, always saying, give us an extension, we'll work it out. They've lost their way. They become crazed lunatics. And all they have to do, Nora, is say, let's vote.
Senate Democrats say they will vote to reopen the government if Republicans agree to extend subsidies for over 20 million Americans who use Obamacare for their health insurance.
Obamacare is terrible. It's bad health care at far too high a price. We should fix that. We should fix it. And we can fix it with the Democrats. All they have to do is let the country open, and we'll fix it. They have to let the country open, and I'll sit down with the Democrats, and we'll fix it. But they have to let the country. And you know what they have to do? All they have to do is raise 5 hands. We don't need all of them.
But so you're saying your plan is to tell the Democrats to vote to end the shutdown.
Correct. Very simple.
And that you will put forward a health care plan?
No, we will work on fixing the bad health care that we have. Right now, we have terrible health care at too expensive for the people. Not for the government, for the people.
But, Mr. President, with all due respect, you've been talking about fixing the health care insurance plan since 2015.
You can't do it because of the Democrats.
But since 2015, you've said you'd fix it.
I've been talking about it for a long time. We almost did it. We were 1 vote short. We would have had great health care.
And right there, you knew that this was not going to be a soft sit-down interview. O'Donnell pressed on about the shutdown, the second longest in our country's history, trying to pin the blame on the president. But Trump turned it around, laying it squarely at the feet of Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who he called, quote, a basket case. O'Donnell continued to press the president on how he intends to stop the shutdown and what his plan is to replace Obamacare.
We can make it much less expensive for people and give them much better health care.
But where is that
plan? And I'd be willing to work with the Democrats on it. The problem is they want to give money to prisoners, to drug dealers, to all these millions of people that were allowed to come in with an open border from Biden, and nobody can do that. Now, one Republican would ever do that.
My understanding is if those health care subsidies are not extended, premiums will double for many of the people that are on it. And I was looking into it. 3/4 of these people will see their health care premiums double, live in states where you won in the last election. I mean, even here in Florida has the highest number of residents on Obamacare in the country.
And I'm saying we can fix it, Nora.
You have helped end these government shutdowns in the past when they came about. And you did it by bringing
I'm very good at it.
You
but
brought
I'm not going to do it by I'm not going to do it by extortion. I'm not going to do it by being extorted by the Democrats who have lost their way. There's something wrong with these people.
So then what happens on November 15th when the troops don't get a paycheck?
Schumer is a basket case, and he has nothing to lose. He's become, I just left Japan, he's become a kamikaze pilot.
Sounds like it's not going to get solved, the shutdown.
It's going to get solved, yeah. Oh, it's going to get solved.
How?
We'll get it solved. Eventually, they're going to have to vote.
You're saying the Democrats will capitulate?
I think they have to. And if they don't vote, that's their problem. Now, I happen to agree with something else. I think we should do the nuclear option. This is a totally different nuclear, by the way. It's called ending the filibuster.
Now, one of the most probably explosive parts of the interview came when Ms. O'Donnell asked about the president's decision to restart U.S. nuclear weapons testing, a move that's reignited global debate about deterrence and national security. When asked, why do we need to test our nuclear weapons, President Trump did not hesitate, did not flinch, reminding O'Donnell that we're the only country that doesn't test, he said, and I don't want to be the only country that doesn't test. He went on to claim that China and Russia are actively testing and that the U.S. needs to maintain its edge to deter a potential threat. The president, they talked too about the mayoral race in New York and where that might be headed. And at one point, Ms. O'Donnell also kind of pressing the president towards the end of the interview, asked if he would try to run for a third term, which, of course, he cannot do, but the speculation continues. Here's the exchange.
As our time with the president was winding down, we asked him whether he'll try to stay in his job beyond 2028. There's been a lot of talk about 2028 and who will be at the top of the Republican ticket. Can you set the record straight? You're not going to try and run for a third term?
Well, I don't even think about it. I will tell you, a lot of people want me to run, but the difference between us and the Democrats is we really do have a strong bench. I don't want to use names because it's, inappropriate, but it's too early.
But people do like when you start talking about whether you like J.D. Vance or Secretary Rubio.
I do like J.D. Vance. I like Marco Rubio. I like so many people. We have an unbelievable bench.
Now, I will have to say that was a bit of an odd answer. I guess he's just not quite ready to throw his support solely behind Vice President J.D. Vance. One would think that since J.D. Vance is serving him as his vice president, that the president would not hesitate to go ahead and just shut down any speculation and say, I'm going to support my vice president. But obviously, he's not to that point yet. But overall, he stood his ground. And this is the kind of interview you would expect out of Donald Trump. He's not going to back down for anyone, and especially not 60 Minutes and Norah O'Donnell. Let's be honest, those summer vacations and backyard barbecues added some extra pounds, right? But instead of feeling guilty or falling further behind, it's time to reset, drop the weight, and get back in control. The solution isn't a shot. Real lasting weight loss starts with your mind, not your mouth. At PhD Weight Loss, Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team help you uncover the real reasons behind your weight gain so that you can reprogram the way you think about food forever. PhD clients lose up to a third of their body weight without ever taking a drug. I know because I lost 33 pounds with PhD weight loss. Through real food, behavioral coaching, and proven science, your body can become a natural fat-burning machine. Why risk spending thousands on shots that strip away muscle, come with dangerous side effects, and leave most people regaining 60% of the weight within a year? With PhD, you'll activate your body's natural appetite control, burn fat safely, and stay in control. Even if you're already on Ozempic, PhD can help you transition off while still losing weight. Take the first step today. Call 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. It is great to be back home, although I had a wonderful week last week, spending it in Israel, Jerusalem particularly, and seeing all of the holy sites and just being able to interview and talk with a lot of people in Israel and get their take on the war in Gaza, the war against Hamas, and just where they feel that's headed. And it was just wonderful. I hope you were able to follow some of the posts that I put on social media, some of my photos and videos. If you didn't, just look me up on Facebook, Instagram, particularly YouTube. I've got some videos on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, search for Joey Hudson. Love for you to be sure, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. But it's wonderful being there. It's always great. I learn something every time I go. It's just a special place. And I made a point last week to every morning start my day reading my Bible. And it was just so special. In most cases in the morning, I was on the balcony of my hotel room looking out over just a beautiful view of Jerusalem. And it's just really special. And it's just hard to describe being in those places that you know that Jesus walked. So it was great being there, but I'm glad to be back home. As I was traveling back, it's about an 11-hour flight. And so I had plenty of time to watch videos, movies, and, of course, continue to check social media. And, of course, one of the videos, or actually several videos, that have gone viral over this past weekend are pertaining to the SNAP benefits. And as you know, that's the big discussion this week. The Democrats have sued the Trump administration, saying that they can use some reserve funds to make sure that people get their SNAP benefits, the food stamps basically. The president says he's happy to do so, but it says his understanding, and the White House attorneys are saying that he can't use those emergency funds. So that's a legal wrangle. They're going back and forth. But a lot of you have commented, emails, text messages. For example, Jennifer text, hey, Joey, Jennifer, 42 million Americans on SNAP. Americans are a generous people, and they never turn away from people in need. And I'll bet the majority of your listeners donate regularly to bona fide organizations serving people in need. And you're right, we do. One of my favorite ones is Miracle Hill Ministries. They serve a lot of meals every day, feed a lot of people. And Jennifer's right. There's lots of organizations that you can support that serve people's needs. She goes on to say, but 42 million Americans unable to support themselves, requiring their fellow Americans' tax dollars in order to survive? Big question mark. Certainly, millions of them are in dire straits and need our help, she says. But Jennifer says, I believe there are other able bodies and capable of taking care of themselves. Is there a plan to identify these people and get them into jobs, enabling them to become self-supporting? Doge it, I say, now is a good time for it. And Jennifer, I think that's the president's plan. There's been reports that there's a large number of the people who are receiving SNAP who are immigrants, some illegal immigrants, but that a majority of people, or close to a majority, I've seen different numbers, anywhere from 42% to 48%, are immigrants. We'll see. This is going to be a priority this week because people are going to have to eat. But if you've spent any time on social media, you probably have seen some of the videos that have circulated. There's one in particular that's made the rounds, a woman angrily saying it's the taxpayer's responsibility to take care of my kids. Here it is if you haven't heard it.
My kids have not eaten in 5 days. It is the taxpayer's responsibility to take care of my kids.
Trump done cut them food stamps off.
If you're poor, don't have kids, okay? If you're struggling, don't have kids. Don't bring more in. If you already have them, that's another situation. If you don't have them, don't bring any in. And if you have two, don't go having another one. If you have one, don't go having two more.
So they say 2 million is getting cut off this month for the scamps. I'm about to go find out if I'm in that number, in that ratio. It's been day 5 and I have not received no food stamps. My disability checks is on hold. My cash benefits is not coming no more. They're still pending. It is the taxpayer's job to pay for my kids to eat and for my kids to be taken care of. I have over 2,000 followers on TikTok and I can't get not one person to send me 50 cents. If you're watching a video and you can't send me nothing, I'm blocking you.
Have you seen some of those? That was sort of a montage of several that are circulating. They've gotten millions of views. Now, the problem with this is most of those videos are artificially generated. They're deep fakes. They're made by AI. And this is just an example. You may say, well, what's the big deal? It's dishonest, and this is an example of how AI can really fool you, because if you've watched some of these, it really looks like this is a real person, that these are real people. You know, another thing, I mean, these videos are designed to stir emotion, anger, resentment, division at a time when our country is divided, because most Americans just don't want these freeloaders out there taking their tax dollars. But again, the purpose of this is for me to say, just be careful, because everything you see is not always what it appears to be. On the text line, Faye writes, Joey, enjoyed the firsthand news from Israel last week. Thank you and Mike. I'm thankful that you and Mike are home safely. If you can figure out a way to put Obama on a flight to nowhere, please do so. His voice should not be heard in the news anymore, ever again. He needs to just go away. He is no longer a government official. Well, Faye, he's the kingmaker, or wants to be the kingmaker in the Democrat Party. So I think it's wishful thinking that Barack Obama is going away anytime soon. We'll see, though. Appreciate your text. I always appreciate your text. You can email me directly, joe@joeyhudson.com. You can leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, and it's real easy. Just 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. And just leave me a message. I love to get your messages. I listen to all of them. I read all of them. And, of course, always use promo code Joey when you go to mypillow.com, and you'll get some of the best deals that Mike Lindell has to offer when you throw my name around. So go to mypillow.com and take advantage of the 6-piece towel set. Regular $69.98, $39.98 when you use promo code Joey. The My Slippers. You may know, you've heard me talk about the My Slippers. You can wear them anywhere. My buddy Dennis down in Georgia wears them out deer hunting. They're typically anywhere from $149.98 and up. Right now, $39.98 when you use promo code Joey. And Giza Dream Sheets, still got some of those in. Normally $99.98, only $29.98 with promo code Joey. So go to mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. We're talking about this major development in an ongoing battle over election integrity as we start looking towards the 2026 midterm elections. We got to make sure we get it right. We got to make sure that they're fair. But yet, you've got a case right now that's likely headed to the U.S. Supreme Court because a federal judge in Washington, D.C., ruled that President Trump's executive order, the one that requires documented proof of U.S. citizenship for a person to register to vote. This would be on the voter registration forms. This judge rules it cannot be enforced. It was handed down on Friday by U.S. District Judge Colleen Collar-Cotley. Says the president lacks the authority to direct such changes to federal election procedures. In other words, the court says the White House doesn't have the power to require states to verify citizenship before someone registers to vote, even when the goal is to ensure that only American citizens are participating in our elections. Now, I get that there's all kind of legal arguments you can make. Judge Collar-Cotley wrote in her opinion, because our Constitution assigns responsibility for election regulation to the states and to Congress, this court holds that the president lacks the authority to direct such changes. So let's just pause right there. I mean, it's a pretty sweeping statement. It's pretty broad, and one that raises a question. If the president of the United States can't use his constitutional authority to protect the integrity of federal elections, who can? I guess the judge is saying this is a state issue. Leave it up to the states. Now, this isn't about Trump demanding new laws or rewriting the Constitution. This was an executive order designed to enforce existing laws, because the Trump administration believes that existing law should require this to make sure when someone registers to vote in a federal election, they're an American citizen. That's it. I mean, that's the whole controversy. How could anybody who loves our country not want to ensure that only U.S. citizens vote? It's just crazy to hear about some of these municipalities around the country, some of the blue cities, who have literally allowed people who aren't citizens to vote in their local elections. They'd love for that to be in federal elections as well. Now, the president's executive order signed back in March is really kind of simple. It says two things: that anyone registering to vote on a federal form provide government-issued proof of U.S. citizenship, as I said a minute ago. Number two, that the Attorney General work with state election officials to share data and identify cases of election fraud or illegal voting. Now, you may recall that there was a lot of discussion over the last few months of South Carolina handing over our election data to the federal government, to the Justice Department. A group of Democrats sued the state to try to keep the state from handing over the data. Eventually, they lost. The Democrat actually withdrew the case, and South Carolina sent the data to the Department of Justice. It also tied federal election funding to states that complied with basic integrity measures. So if you want the federal dollars to help you run your state elections, then you got to go by the federal rules. To most Americans, that just sounds like common sense. It does to me. What about you? But to the Democrat Party and its allies in the activist legal world, it was cause for panic. Within days of President Trump signing that order, a coalition of liberal organizations, including the Democrat National Committee, the League of Women Voters, they filed lawsuits arguing that the president had overstepped his constitutional authority. He can't do that. Donald Trump can't do that. Orange man bad. And now Judge Kohler Cotelli, a Clinton appointee, by the way, has agreed with him, writing that the president has no direct role in administering elections. Again, let me ask my original question. I don't care if you are a Democrat. I don't care if you're an independent. Who in their right mind, an American who loves their country, would not think that this is just common sense? This ruling even permanently blocks the U.S. Election Assistance Commission from adding that citizenship-proof requirement to the federal voter registration form. Cannot be done. Cannot be a requirement. So for now, that part of Trump's order is dead in the water unless the U.S. Supreme Court takes up the case. I suspect they will. The White House isn't backing down. Abigail Jackson, Deputy Press Secretary, told Fox News over the weekend President Trump has exercised his lawful authority to ensure only American citizens are casting ballots in our elections. This is so common sense that only the Democrat Party would file a lawsuit against it. We expect to be vindicated by a higher court. I think she's right. It's hard to imagine anything more basic to our democracy than ensuring that only citizens vote. Yet somehow that has become a partisan issue. It has become controversial. This court decision highlights one of the biggest divides in American politics today. The divide between those who believe in secure elections and those who believe in open access, no matter the cost. Republicans say voter ID, citizenship verification, updated registration rolls are essential to protecting trust in the system. That's what you and I believe. Democrats, meanwhile, argue that those same measures amount to voter suppression. We're keeping some poor people. We're keeping some black people. We're keeping some brown people from being able to vote. And they're American citizens. I mean, it's a bizarre logic. The one that says it's discriminatory to make sure a voter is who they are, say they are. What is racial about that? I don't care what your skin color is. This is the same party that spent years questioning the results of the 2016 election, claiming it was stolen by Russia, and now fights against virtually every safeguard that would make our elections more trustworthy. That's the problem with the Democrat Party as it is today. By the way, it's also worth noting that nearly every state in the country already requires some form of identification to register to vote, whether it's a driver's license, a passport, or a Social Security number, a Social Security card. What Trump's order did was make sure that for federal elections, U.S. Congress, U.S. Senate, everyone is held to the same standard. It's just that simple because the federal registration form, unlike many state forms, does not currently require documentation of your citizenship, just a sworn statement. And we all know, sadly, a lot of people would just totally ignore that. But all you have to do is put a little box on there and says, yes, I'm a citizen. That's all President Trump's asking. And as election officials in several states have admitted, there's no reliable way to verify that claim unless you see some type of document, unless you see a driver's license or something that has been issued by another government agency. That's what Trump is trying to fix, plain and simple. Once again, the Democrats are trying to oppose this simply because Donald Trump has suggested it. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. I got back into the States Saturday night. We flew into JFK in New York City. And then Sunday morning, got back up, got on another flight at LaGuardia, and came home. But as Gallagher and I were literally in the car that had picked us up at JFK to take us to the hotel for Saturday night, we're driving down, I guess it was the Long Island Expressway, and they have these signs along the way, digital signs that, to give you traffic updates and that kind of thing. But we both saw it at the same time. I had not realized or just didn't remember that the New York Marathon was this past weekend. And it was warning you that Sunday morning, most of Manhattan was going to be blocked. And, of course, I'm trying to get home. I'm ready to come home. And I can just visualize, and Gallagher could too, of us getting stranded in Manhattan, not being able to get back out to LaGuardia to get our flight Sunday morning. So we started quizzing the driver of how that can be accomplished. Now, as it turns out, it turned out not being a problem at all. I got up very early yesterday morning because I thought I need to get out of the city as quickly as I can to get out to LaGuardia so that I don't get caught when they start closing the roads down. But evidently, I guess the marathon starts at Staten Island, and then they eventually work their way back over to Manhattan. So it was later in the morning before a lot of the streets were closed. I said that to say this. Former President Bill Clinton made an appearance at the finish line of the New York City Marathon this weekend. It wasn't just his signature smile that caught people's attention, though. Clinton, who's 79 years old by now, was photographed hugging Chelsea, and that's why he was there. He was there to greet her as she completed the race. But noticeable in those images is a large bandage covering the tip of his nose. The former president hasn't publicly commented on the reason for the bandage, but it's drawn some curiosity given his documented health history. Clinton has faced multiple serious medical issues over the years, including a near-total arterial blockage in 2004 that led to emergency quadruple bypass surgery and a collapsed lung a year later. In recent years, he's battled a number of different things that has landed him in the hospital. Last summer, he was spotted with what appeared to be a portable defibrillator bag, sparking renewed concern about his heart health. But look, despite these questions, Clinton looked to be okay, looked to be fine. Maybe it was just some type of skin lesion or something that he had removed. But boy, it sent the media into speculation. Does he have skin cancer? Everybody's come up with all these various things that it could potentially be. A inmate who pleaded guilty to killing 3 people and leaving messages written in blood is choosing to die by the firing squad in South Carolina. This is according to a letter that he was submitted on his behalf to the South Carolina Supreme Court on Friday. Stephen Bryant's execution is scheduled to take place at 6 o'clock p.m., November the 14th. This would be the fifth to take place in the state this year. Bryant is 44 years old. He'll be the third inmate put to death by the firing squad since legislators added it as an option back in 2021 because we were not able to get drugs for lethal injection at the time. The other four inmates executed since the process resumed in September of 2024 selected lethal injection. By law, inmates have until 2 weeks before their execution to choose their method of execution. Anyone who doesn't make a choice faces electrocution, which the legislator made as the default method when they passed the new law in 2021, though no inmate has died by that method in the state since 2008. Legislators made firing squad an option 4 years ago in an effort to restart executions, again after years of being unable to purchase the drugs that were needed for the lethal injection. A secrecy law passed in 2023 allowed prison officials to get the drugs later that same year, making it an option once again. Mr. Bryant's execution would be the sixth in the country carried out by a firing squad since the state Supreme Court resumed executions nationwide in 1976. Before the two in South Carolina this year, the last firing squad execution took place in Utah in 2010, who also offers the death by firing squad. So here's the story. Attorneys for death row inmates have raised concerns about the legality of lethal injection and a firing squad, though the state Supreme Court decided last year both were constitutional. But, of course, you can see what the tactics are. Before, when they couldn't get the drugs, we had people like this guy, like Stephen Bryant, who would sit on death row for years and years and years. They knew they were never going to be executed because they chose not to choose the electric chair, but lethal injection, knowing the state couldn't get the drugs. So now that we have another option, the firing squad, and now that we've changed the law for some protection of the company who makes the drugs, there are several options. So people aren't going to be able to continue to delay their execution simply because of the choice they make for the method of execution. During a firing squad execution back I guess this was back in the spring, I think. Back in April. There was a lot of scrutiny after the inmate at that time, Mikhail Mahdi's attorneys claiming that the bullets mostly missed his heart. 3 marksmen shoot live rounds at the inmate, who is strapped to a chair through a hole in the wall 15 feet away. This is according to the Department of Corrections protocols released during court proceedings. So the concern among defense attorneys is that an autopsy after Mahdi's execution showed 2 bullet holes instead of the 3 that appeared during his execution. This according to filings by his attorneys that were submitted to the state Supreme Court. Fragments of the bullets pierced Mahdi's heart, but they did not strike it directly the way they did with the previous inmate, according to court filings. The Department of Corrections contends that nothing went wrong, that 2 bullets struck Mahdi's chest in the same spot, creating one entrance wound, according to Christy Shane. She says that everything went as planned. No bullet fragments were found in the room, so they had to have gone into his body. Now, lethal injection has faced its own concerns. In court filings to the state Supreme Court and a federal lawsuit, attorneys have repeatedly asked for more information about the drugs used to kill prisoners, which judges in the state's highest court have said is unnecessary. Death by lethal injection, according to the defense attorneys, can be long and painful as the inmate's lungs fill up with fluid, therefore making it cruel and unusual punishment. They're just trying to delay, and that's why for years we've had all of these people on death row and no executions. That's it for today's show. Tara's up next, followed by Mike Gallagher, Bill Frady, Charlie James. We're back in tomorrow at 5 a.m. for your first cup of coffee and more Sunrise Carolina. Until then, folks, remember, God's got this. He's still in control. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.